We're pissing a lot of people off this week, aren't we?
Probably. We'll see.
Every week.
Yes. So we've got some data from Champs. We've got the 2021 MultiGP Champs fleet responses. And we're going to take you through them and take a look. But you might see some surprising results from things you might have heard in other places.
Yeah. So here's the raw data. Don't worry. Obviously the link in the spread. There's a link to the spreadsheet down below. You can check it out. And by the way, if you want to play with the data yourself, a lot of people don't know this. In Google Sheets, you don't have to request access. Do we have write access here? Surely not. No. What you can do is you can hit File and make a copy. And basically, you can make a local copy that you own, and then you could do whatever you want with the data, FYI. But they've already pulled a lot of the data out here.
Yeah. So we've got some nice graphs and stuff we could check out. So the All Pilots is a pretty good one, or the Pro Class, depending on what we want to look at.
All Pilots.
Yeah, so we've got some interesting statistics here. So if we take a look at all the pilots, obviously 533 switchback, 70%, that's what we would expect, right?
Most popular frame. Most popular frame in racing today, just dominating.
Yeah.
Nothing else even close.
Heads up. That makes sense.
Still pretty dominant.
Yeah, a little bit of variance in the other motors there. But then we look over at like most popular ESC, possibly also to note, like a lot of these pilots are sponsored, so some of these things are going to be based on sponsors, possibly. Or
that's what I think is so interesting. Like the 533 switchback. Yeah, I know he does sponsor some people, but a whole lot of people who aren't sponsored, a whole lot of people who compete against him run his frame. I mean, I think that just proves how damn good it is. And the same with the motors. People who could be sponsored by other people run his motors instead. That says a lot.
But yeah, so I think one of the most interesting things here is let's take a look at Control Link.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had more people running Ghost than Tracer. We had 42.9% Ghost, 40.7% Tracer. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was shocked at this, Blenty, because I hear sometimes, I'm not going to attribute this quote to any specific person. I'm not even going to make a specific quote, but I hear the people say that one of the things that proves that Tracer's the best is that so many racers run Tracer. Like all the racers run Tracer. Everybody runs Tracer. Ghost is dead in the water. Nobody's running it. And apparently that is just wildly untrue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is pretty clear from the data here. What we can see. And, there's not that many, but I think it's like 80 pilots or 90 pilots were there. These are also the fastest people. Like this is out of the top 200, I believe, right?
Oh, well, it gets better. I mean, I don't actually know the result, but you can actually go to the top 8, the pro top 8. And what were they running? I actually don't know. Oh, they're 75% Tracer. Well, you could make the argument that the fastest guys still run Tracer. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Top 16?
Still, though, these are the fastest in the country, right?
It's true.
So, I also think it's interesting that people talk about sponsors and stuff, but I'm not sure who Ghost or Tracer sponsors, but also typically with the Control Link, especially for a racer, you're not going to really choose that based on sponsorship. At least I wouldn't, I'd be choosing that based on what worked best for me.
Well, there's no question that Ghost and Immersion, and by the way, the same is true for VTXs, right? For VTXs, if we go to all pilots, ImmersionRC 41%, TBS 40%. So almost an exact 50-50 split. But I would bet most people, if you ask them, would say it would be like 75-80% TBS and like 5% ImmersionRC, at least in the USA. I think the Tramp is a little more popular over in Europe. I think that ImmersionRC's focus on racing, though, and with especially the performance of the Ghost Control Link and the Ghost Hybrid, I think is a big reason for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out that Cap and Bry put a link in the Discord there, or a picture in the Discord, if you can pull that up real quick. That's a good example of, he was at the race, and I remember him posting this. He's like, I've never seen so many people. So that's kind of interesting. He's like, it's like they're giving them away for free. There's so many people who go.
Well, I mean, we don't know for sure that hasn't happened. I mean, if I were ImmersionRC, I would give to any of the top 40 or any of the people going to pros, I would give them. But like you said, I think these, I don't know if that's true. I was going to say, I think these people choose what performs best for them. I don't know if that's true, though. I can think of one racer who, I can think of at least one and probably more, who they fly TBS because they've flown TBS forever. TBS sponsors them. I'm not saying TBS gives them money. I'm just saying if that's who they're sort of in bed with and that's who they fly. And as long as they don't feel like it's holding them back, why would they jump ship?
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair. I'd agree with that.
So, nevertheless, here's the thing though. For people to be using Ghost, it means that they chose Ghost over whatever they were using because Ghost is new. So they were using something, presumably Crossfire, and then they switched to Ghost, and Ghost managed to pull them away, however they did that. Whereas, you could argue that people using Tracer may be Crossfire users who just didn't want to jump ship and thought it was basically Crossfire with better performance. Regardless of how you interpret it, it's a pretty impressive showing for Ghost.
Yeah, absolutely. Some interesting stats there. So again, for people that are asking, that is all down in the show notes along with everything else that we talked about today.
Yeah. I'm really curious. So it's also, frankly, has to be acknowledged, it's a great showing for Tracer because a year ago or 2 years ago, it would have been everybody flying Crossfire pretty much. So Tracer also coming up just as fast as Ghost. But I do think that is a very surprising narrative that a lot of people would assume that it's all Crossfire and Tracer and that Ghost and Express LRS are in the very much in the shadows, and that's just not true. Be very interesting next year to see how Express LRS does, because I feel like Express LRS is going to get big. Although whether it will penetrate to the realms of the highest tier of racing remains to be seen. Anyway.
All right.
Gregory Hurst points out Crossfire had issues at big events, so it makes sense that people wanted to try another option. Very good point. Very good point. Is that it, Blunty? Have we finished up? Is that
that is it for the day.
Okay. Well, the last thing we got to do is check out, Remio. Didn't we just do an RC Link poll a couple weeks ago? That we did. Of course, that was a poll of my live stream versus, these are the top racers at MultiGP Champs, which is a different, they make decisions differently than we do. And there's certain prestige with winning champs and saying, oh, these racers use us. So